Hi there, I'm going to show you a tip that I find really useful when drawing natural forms, natural landscapes, and that's to remember to use more convex lines than concave lines. So this is generally because in the natural world, things, natural forms like rocks, trees, hills, mountains, they're affected by things like gravity, erosion. They're fighting against the kind of the pressure of those forces. They're often bulging up, and so we see this in the way we draw the lines for these things. So say we're drawing some rocks, they tend to have these convex lines. They tend to bulge upwards like this, and everything in a scene almost can kind of use these convex lines. So you might start with a load of rocks like that. You might have some trees behind that tend to also use these convex lines. Trees are kind of forcing their way up into the sky, but also being pulled back down to earth, and so they form these kind of convex shapes. Um, then things like hills in the background tend to slope down towards the earth in these convex shapes. And then you even get the same thing with things like clouds. Clouds are water rising up into the air, pushing its way up, and bulging. And that word bulging is definitely key in nature. The things that kind of bulge upwards, they tend to rarely form that concave line, that dipping line. This isn't a blanket rule, of course. There are some things in nature that will do that. Rocks, or like big kind of, when you have really kind of sharp mountain peaks, you tend to get those lines where things have fallen out or been chipped out. But generally, I find using these kind of curved convex lines in natural landscapes just really is something great to remember when you're drawing, when you're kind of sketching ideas out. So this also kind of applies to other things like uh, you've got leaves. Leaves tend to kind of be convex lines too. Kind of, you know, the weight of gravity pulls them back down as they grow up. So remembering to just use kind of collections of these lines. And often I'll find myself, I'm just basically just drawing loads of convex lines in a kind of arrangement that ends up looking like a scene, but they're all essentially the same kind of lines. You might have some foreground leaves coming in. They tend to all have that shape somehow. It doesn't have to be the perfect convex line, but yeah, you tend to rarely ever get like exactly straight lines in nature. Um, they'll tend to wobble, but they'll tend to always go this way, do the convex way. I mean, let's do an example where they don't. Let's do maybe maybe you might have some really crazy rocky mountain like that, but it's quite rare to get these concave lines, and they tend to look a bit unnatural. Um, Whereas when we use convex lines, it tends to feel more like it's been affected by the world around. And, a combination of two can be really nice. The odd concave line here or there, but building your world up with convex lines is a really great way to make it believable, and that's often the key. You want people to kind of get lost in your image, or feel like it's authentic, or it's realistic. And this kind of approach where you're always remembering how things are affected by forces is really important to creating something believable. So I read about this rule in Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting, which is such a great book. It's got so many great nuggets of wisdom in there. But yeah, I try and always remember that when I'm making my illustrations. It's always those convex lines, even in the sky. All those natural things, even the grass will come up and it wants to go back down to earth, or the gravity is pulling it back down. Even the little birds. So as a recap, just the obvious ones: rocks, you got hills, you've got clouds, you've got trees, you've got leaves, even flowers tend to be collections of these convex lines. Yeah, so yeah, give that a try, or just try to remember that when you're making your work. And yeah, I hope you find that helpful, and thanks for watching.